Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. We are excited to welcome you. My name is Jamie Arcolio. I'm an Outreach and Education Advisor with the Student Recruitment Team at Mohawk College, and I'm joined by the wonderful faculty of our Community Studies programs. Before we get started, this is just a reminder as participants to please keep your videos and microphones turned off. We kindly ask you to use the chat feature to ask any questions, and we will answer them at the end of our presentation. We are recording today's session for future use and for it to be viewed on our program pages. We know everyone is curious about how September will look for program delivery. We have the faculty here to help answer any questions about the delivery method for their programs this fall. If entering a program that will be virtual for this fall semester, please know that the plan is flexible and can be easily scaled up or down to accommodate any changes along the way. You can be confident that our new learning styles will meet the learning expectations for your program, while ensuring the quality education experience you expect from Mohawk. I would encourage everyone to check updates about COVID-19 on the Mohawk College website. A link for frequently asked questions will be available in the chat for your review. If any international students are joining us today, please be sure to connect with our International Student Department. The website for international student support and information will also be available in the chat. Details on admission requirements can be found on each of the program pages. Now I will hand it over to Melody to provide you with more information about programs.
Thanks, Jamie. Next slide, please. So welcome everybody, and I'm glad to have you here on our first ever virtual open house. And I am going to run you through the early childhood education program first. Coded as 213 if you're going into the Mohawk College site or looking at the enrollment data. So early childhood education is a 2-year diploma program, and it is certainly one that obviously I'm a bit biased to tell you this, but absolutely a rewarding career. We wanted to give you just a brief highlight here of some of the things you could expect. First of all, what would an early childhood education diploma bring in terms of a career? You would be looking at a career within childcare, so being a childcare educator within the childcare license system, perhaps a kindergarten educator working alongside one of the Ontario College teachers in a kindergarten classroom. You could be within family support programs. So those are things such as early ons, where you work directly with families as a facilitator or specialist. You could become a childcare supervisor with a couple of years experience and your early childhood education. Or you could work as a home childcare provider or home childcare visitor with a licensed home childcare agency. These are only a few of the things that are offered in terms of a career path for ACE. And that's something that we explore a little bit more with you as you're in the program. So there's certainly lots of choices out there in the province for early childhood education. And we always like to let you know a little bit about why Mohawk. Mohawk College is one that actually incorporates experiential learning opportunities frequently within our program. And yes, even while studying virtually. So we are certainly planned to be online entirely in the fall, but we've already been offering our program online since the middle of March, with great success to be able to look at these experiential learning opportunities in a virtual way. So we'll continue to do that. You have a diverse and field experienced early childhood education faculty team. So being able to bring you information about the field from a perspective of having worked within those areas is something that we bring to you. On-site ECE demonstration room. So although we can't visit it yet, at some point in your time with us, you will have experience in that lab setting where we actually look at room setup and what does the classroom contain and what is the theory behind why it's there. And there's a little picture of it there on the left. There's a student within it, and then on the bottom as well. So that's something we'll experience together at a later date, but we have lots of photographs of it that we'll integrate within our courses initially. There's also a 90% plus ECE employment rate upon graduation. So always of interest to students is when I graduate, what type of opportunity is there? And there is lots of opportunity in our field that just continues to grow. So there's a great percentage of employment rate. And then student success and satisfaction has continued to tell us that Mohawk is a great choice for your early childhood education. Next slide, please, Heather. And this is just a snapshot of what the program of studies, or you'll see listed sometimes as POS. Program of study is really looking at how does this break down through semester. So it is a 4-semester program if you're starting in September. We do have a January intake that we call a fast track. And there are still 4 semesters, but you just start them in January and continue through a summer semester. This is looking at your typical September start date, but you can check the website for a January start date if that's of interest. So our program of studies, you can see semester 1, you're looking at a course load that also includes communications, but our course load for the semester 1 also includes something called field placement prep. That's an important piece to highlight right now as we're looking at this virtual online space, because we aren't sending students out currently on their field practicums. So that practical experience in the field hasn't restarted quite yet. You won't need to worry about that in semester 1 anyway. That never happens in semester 1 in our program. It's always a time for us to get you ready for the field. So that's something to think about in making your decision, is that field placement doesn't typically begin until the winter anyway. And so we just use that field placement prep time to prepare you for that. You will also take courses such as responsive care, learning environment, child development, and relationships, as well as a course on health, safety, and nutrition. So you can see just a note here underneath semester 2 about our placement, field placements. That certainly will happen as soon as we're able to. But if you're looking at a fall entry time, those are the things on the left-hand side that you can expect in terms of courses. Next slide, please. Here we just have a few feedback pieces. As I said, I think one of the biggest things to look at is how have other people found the program. So I'm going to tell you the program's great because I teach within it. I'm one of the faculty, and I love the program. Obviously, I've been in the field for about 30 years now. So it's a very rewarding field and I love what I do. But I think you need to hear from students. And so there's a number of feedback pieces here that we've included. One from somebody who works now within the family literacy programs at the Hamilton board, talking about the success in their field coming from Mohawk College. And then looking at one of our first year students who's talked about going back to school after a long time away. So we have a real variety of students, from students right out of high school to mature students, and students who are international students and visiting us to gain their early childhood education. So I encourage you to take a look at some of our feedback that's posted on our website. There's videos posted on our website of students talking about our program and their success in our program. So I encourage you to hear directly from our student population as well. Next slide, please. So there's just a bit more information here for you. One of the things I'd encourage you to do is start following us on Twitter. If you have a Twitter account at Mohawk ECE, you could also contact our coordinator at any time, karen.davis@mohawkcollege.ca, for more information. And certainly, as I said, check out those testimonials on our website. One other piece to mention is two pieces actually. One of them being that as an early childhood educator, upon completion, you would register in the College of Early Childhood Educators and become part of 53,000 other members in this province that are registered early childhood educators. It is a regulated body and it is a protected title. Now, we do still have an advantage here that there is an ECE Ontario grants program that is still running, and it's something for you to check out if you have worked or are currently working in the field in some capacity. It is worth looking into. This grant program allows for some funding for textbooks and travel as well as tuition. So we've provided the link here, but you likely won't have access to this at this time. You could write down ecegrant.on.ca. Next slide, please. So that's our early childhood education 2-year diploma program. We also offer a child development practitioner apprenticeship program. This child development apprenticeship program, 620C, is a way for you to actually work at the same time as continuing with study. So this is a way for people to have been working in the field, and this often happens as folks have already had some kind of connection in the field, but you could seek out an employer. And the program itself then runs part-time for you to be in school. And you learn all the essential skills of an early childhood educator. Some of the highlights here talk about our living lab. That's the one that I showed you in our ECE pages. and again, would be accessible after we're back in our environment in a more face-to-face manner. Opportunities to implement and integrate community approach with children and families and professionals, independent and collaborative work. Group work is absolutely essential to what we do, and so yes, your program does include that. You'll learn how to foster the development of the whole child and look at individual needs of children and intentional planning. We'll look at observation and pedagogical documentation, which is a really fancy way to say how learning is happening, so making learning visible, and reflection of best practices. We'll talk about the current legislation, so all of the laws and things that come along with being part of a registered system and those principles of the earlier system. Collaborative skills and supporting children and families. So we'll take a look at all of those things within the apprenticeship program as well. Next slide, please. So here's just the format for apprenticeships. So apprenticeships must be registered with the Ministry of Labor, Training, and Skills and Development. Child Development Practitioner certificate is awarded upon successful completion of 5,000 to 6,000 on-the-job hours, including completion of the competencies outlined in the Apprenticeship Training Standards Logbook and the in-school Child Development Practitioner subject courses. So what this is saying basically is you find an employer who is willing to sponsor you in a sense, okay, that you're working for that employer. At the same time, you are in school, you're studying part-time. Those two things go hand in hand, but you must be registered with the Ministry of Labor, Training, and Skills and Development. So it is a program that is delivered at Mohawk College, but again, the registration for that looks a little bit different. So you need to take a look at that piece, as well as the number of job hours there. So this just gives you a little bit of visual of how that operates in terms of your start and registration through on the job and in school simultaneously, and then completion. So successful completion of the certificate is in fact a certificate awarded to you. And that certificate then requires, or allows you rather, to take 3 courses, 3 additional courses in early childhood education to then have your early childhood education diploma. So it's a different route, a different process, and it works well for some people that perhaps are already working in the field. Next slide, please. So future opportunities, again, looking at that CDP or Child Development Practitioner piece, educators of working with infants, toddlers, preschool and school-aged children. So looking at really that 0 to 12 age range. Facilitator of family support programs, professional learning consultants. These are people who work with other adults working with young children. So they basically look at their professional learning for them. Team teaching with an Ontario certified teacher as discussed in a kindergarten classroom. You could work within those childcare centers or early learning agencies, parent-child drop-in centers, professional resource centers, or working with children with special needs. And the coordinator for that program is Kathy Kemp, and her email is kathy.kemp@mohawkcollege.ca. If you have any questions, you can certainly send them to her. But if you have questions today, we do have Kim Ann here with us who will answer those today. Thank you. Next slide.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Carly Rayner, and I'm going to be talking about the Educational Support Program today. I'm a professor in the program, and so I teach multiple different classes in the program, which we can talk about a little bit later. So the Educational Support Program, if you're researching it on the Mohawk page, is 747 for the program code. So the Educational Support Program reflects a field of study that focuses on supporting individuals with special needs and in an educational setting. And it can be applied to not only elementary and secondary schools, but this program can also be applied to universities and college settings as well. And we have had students take that route and work in those types of settings. So a couple of the program highlights: the graduates are in very high demand in all of our school boards, or many of our school boards in Ontario. And many are actually hired upon graduation or even before graduation. We have plenty of our students before they're even graduated that get part-time positions or get a supply position, a supply EA position, and then work full-time after they are graduated. And educational supports are in a high demand right now, which makes this program even more exciting to be a part of. The educational support program also allows you to work in specialized classrooms or inclusive settings. So what I mean by specialized classrooms are classrooms that might have students who have disabilities, who have medically fragile students, or even schools that are geared towards just students with disabilities. So if you are interested in working with disability, or being a part of a specialized classroom, our program really teaches you those skills and teaches you those accommodations and modifications that you would need to allow accessibility as well as inclusivity in a classroom setting and maximize that student learning, whatever that learning might be, whether the student has a disability or not. The program follows curriculum that is recommended by the ministry, and it is supported by many of the school boards, all of the school boards, and it focuses on theory to practice. So we have classes that really focus on learning strategies, classroom skills, and working on those strategies within our classroom setting, and then being able to apply them into the classroom based on our practicum experiences. So with our practicum experience, we have an elementary placement, a secondary placement, as well as a specialized placement opportunity. So when it comes to placement, there is a variety of learning opportunities that can take place based on the classes that you will be a part of. Next slide, please. Great. Some things that you might learn: you might understand the role of an educational assistant as part of a school team. You will be developing skills that will support those with special needs and exceptionalities across a variety of settings. So like I said, we will be taking part of a placement within an elementary, a high school, and a college level. And just as we were discussing with Melody's program, if you're coming into the program as a first semester student, there's not actually placement within that first semester, and we actually are developing simulation and avatar-based placement opportunities too that are fully online and very innovative during this time as we transfer a lot of our information online. Some other things that you might be learning for the educational support program is assisting students with academics, behavior, life skills, personal care in a school or an alternative setting. So an educational support person does not just work with students in academics, but they also work with students with maybe their behavioral needs. They work with students with life skills, as well as that special needs or disability. And an educational support person also works with students with developing advocacy skills, as well as other life skills that they might need for their future. Our program also utilizes technology. We do have an iPad requirement. Sorry, my dog is barking in the background, so I apologize for that. Our program requires an iPad requirement, so we do use the iPad and its features, accessibility features. We cover plenty of different iPad apps and technologies that are used within the school board and school system.
Educational support program, we also utilize technology, as Carly was talking about, and we do have an iPad initiative in which the students are required to purchase an iPad prior to coming. And that the reason why we do that is because when you're out working as an EA in the schools, you're going to be utilizing a lot of different apps on iPads. So it's really helpful and useful to learn that within the program. And we try and integrate that into each of the courses. So that way, by the time that the learner is finished in semester 4, they have a variety of tools to help learners when they're out in their placements and when they're employed around different apps that can help learners in a variety of ways. Okay, next slide, please. So just to reiterate, this is 2 academic years, so it's 4 semesters, and we also do have a fast track model that starts in January as well. So if you do start in January, that would mean you'd go through the summer and you would merge with the previous group in the fall, and then you would finish in April. So the fast track option is also available as well, and that again is a January start. So if you're starting in September, that's 2 academic years, 4 semesters, and the fast track, we have an intake in January as well. Next slide, please. So the program coordinator for the educational support program is Linda Jones, and her email address is listed there on the PowerPoint. And Carly Rayner, who was just speaking, is a professor in the program as well. And we also have a field placement specialist who is Amy Ocampo, and that's her contact information. And Amy's role is to support learners with their field placement. So as Carly talked about in semester 1, there's a prep course, and that prepares you to go out into placement. There's 3 placements, as Carly indicated. And in those 3 placements, you're going to be in an elementary school, in a high school, in a specialized classroom, and you're also going to be in a public school and a Catholic school. So you have a variety, by the time you graduate from the program, you have a variety of different experiences to prepare you for the ultimate role of being an EA in a school board or in a specialized setting. Next slide, please. So the other program that Carly was going to be talking about is the Learning Disability Specialist Program. So if you're looking it up on the website, it's program number 485. And I just wanted to let you know that this program starts in spring of 2021, but some very valuable information to share now to make informed choices if that's something that you're interested in as well. This is a grad cert program, which means you need a related diploma or degree for entry. Some highlights for the program. The Learning Disability Specialist Graduate Certificate Program provides students with a thorough understanding of the impact of learning disabilities. So you're going to learn about a variety of different learning disabilities, but not only that, specific interventions and strategies that can support you when you're working with individuals with learning disabilities. Also coexisting conditions such as neurodiversity, mental illness, nonverbal disabilities, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and also utilizing assistive and adaptive technology as strategies to support those learners. Privacy and security issues related to health data as well. So it's a very specific program to support individuals with learning disabilities in a variety of settings. Next slide, please. So what you will learn in this program, you're going to build and apply strategies based on assessments. So as I talked about earlier, you would be really focusing on what are the individual strategies to help each individual learner based on their individualized needs. And we really try and teach a strength-based approach, which utilizes what the individual strengths are to help them overcome their areas of need. Also advocating for inclusion and diversity for people with disabilities, and designing and implementing workshops and training sessions, which is instrumental for you when you're out in the field. It really is preparing you to be able to help individuals out in community settings, for sure. Also incorporating assistive technology into learning strategies. So the wonderful thing about this program is if you're coming with a related diploma or degree, it's really going to hone in on those specific strategies for individuals with learning disabilities. So it's going to build on what you already have coming in to a very specific topic, which is learning disability specialist. Also, as we talked about, the technology and assistive devices, and exploring the differences between mental health and learning disabilities, and how to support individuals with either or both of those. Next slide, please. So it's 2 semesters, which is 40 weeks. The classes are, this is a little bit of a different delivery. So the classes are offered in the evenings on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So we're really trying to assist those that may be working to have some flexibility in the delivery. And it is a blend, so there will be some online components and some virtual components. And the blended components are approximately 10 hours a week. So that way it gives you some flexibility if you're looking at exploring this particular program, that it's the evening piece and as well as some of the blended, because we do appreciate and understand that some of you may be working and have other things that you are focusing on as well while you're trying to do your education. Next slide, please. So in terms of the contact information, Carly, who you just met, she's the program coordinator. Her contact information is there as well. And Amy Ocampo is also the field placement specialist for this program. So I just wanted to highlight a few things. In terms of the field placements for both educational support and for this program, Amy Ocampo formulates the placement. So as a student, you are not responsible to find your own placement. That's Amy's role. So she's the first point of contact. We often ask the learners where they want to be placed, and then Amy would advocate and arrange a interview or a meeting with that particular school or agency in order to arrange that placement piece. So in this program, you would do your first semester of academics, your second semester would be academics, and then at the end of the semester is when you have a block field placement. Next slide, please. And I suspect that's probably the last one. Yes, questions? So any questions related to any of those programs? So I will assume if people have questions, they can either put them in the chat or you can put your hand up. And are you able to unmute?
Yeah, I just had a question about the availability of PowerPoint presentations online or somewhere where we can, because it's hard to type everything down or write everything down as we were listening, but I think someone sent, Kayla sent us a link, so that's good.
And any other questions? Either you can type it in the chat or you can raise your hand in the participant. Jador, do you have a question? And if so, unmute and feel free to ask that question.
Okay, hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I was just wondering, so since everything's gonna be online, so we're gonna be learning from Zoom calls, how am I gonna figure out like what books, like am I getting like a PDF of the books that I need? Is it gonna be still the physical textbook that you guys recommend? Like, cause I wanna make sure that I have money for like the textbooks and stuff. Like how would we go about that, especially now?
Okay, I'm gonna defer this to, I'll get Melody to maybe start for her program. And she can let you know what that would look like from a professor lens.
Okay. What program are you looking at?
I'm doing early childhood education.
Okay, great. So welcome. So in ECE, we've obviously been offering now the remainder of our winter semester, and then our spring semester was online, and we were able to do two things. The majority of our textbooks, if not 100% of them, are available as ebooks as well. But they're also available as a hard copy, and we worked with our bookstore around the delivery directly to our students. So I'm sure there will be an avenue for us to work through our bookstore still for a hard copy if that's your preference. But also you could access electronically the textbook. So there's a cost for that still, but it is a lesser cost generally than the hard copy itself. So there are options still for you to be able to access textbooks. There's also a number of sites, and we'll give you that information at orientation, around accessing used textbooks. And as things begin to open up, accessing a used textbook from somebody in a way that's safe is probably something that's going to be an option coming through in the fall as well. So we'll certainly be able to let you know. Generally, we give you all of that information in each of your courses about what textbook you'll be using for the semester. But we certainly can coordinate as a group to have a list available at an earlier date, even at our orientation session, or post that for you so that you have a little bit of lead time given the situation to perhaps do it a little bit differently this time around.
Okay, that sounds good. I was also wondering, so when would we be hearing about the books and how
other avenues, as I said, like used textbooks from previous students who may be selling them. So we will certainly give you that information. Definitely at orientation, but you're more than welcome to email earlier than that if you want to get started. My email, Jador, or anybody else who's on for ECE, if you certainly want that information earlier, you're welcome to email me, Melodie, MELODIE, .Spencer, SPENCER, at mohawkcollege.ca.
do you think you could type it in the chat?
I will definitely do that for you.
Melody, can I just step in there just for 1 second? Hi, I'm Tracy Richardson, your Student Success Advisor, and I support all of these programs that have been presented to you today. And I just want to add on to what Melody is saying, because we often get these questions about books, and what books you will need and when you need them and such. And Melody has provided you with some really valuable information, but I also want to share with you that what we do recommend with students is to wait until the first day of classes with your instructor, because then they will be able to not only let you know the books that you need, but if they're a required book or whether it's a book that you will need as a resource. Now, when the instructor presents the book to you and states that this book is a resource, you really don't need it, they still are stating that it is a valuable resource to have, because there's other valuable information within those books that you can always have on hand. Now, I know that some students that they get a little worried about the costs of some of these books. So Melody gave you some really good information in terms of the used book sales and such. At the MSA, your Mohawk Students Association, has a textbook site very much like Kijiji. But what I want to caution you on is if these books have codes that you need to access for, say, tests or quizzes, and sometimes those books, the codes will have expired because another student's used them. So you might be able to purchase just the code, but you also have to keep in mind the edition of the textbook. So you check in with your instructor as well, and you can wait until first day of classes, if you prefer, to make sure that the book that you have or that that is on the, say, the MSA website will still be honored and the information is current enough. I know that sometimes it scares students to have to wait in order to get this information, but we find that, and we have found through over the years, that when students purchase the information ahead of time, or sorry, the books ahead of time, and they find out that they really don't need it, and they've already opened the book or made a mark in it or whatever, they can't return them. And then the student is left with having this book and have to try and either resell it. And I mean, let's face it, it's a financial piece to it. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of added information into that. And I hope that helps.
Thank you, Tracy. And I was just going to introduce you when I saw your face up there, so thank you so much. I do see another question in the chat. How will orientation work for September? And I know, Melody, I think you have been starting on some of this, so maybe I'll get you to answer that one, just for
Sure, I have. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Tracy. Yes, so we are starting to take a look at orientation, and I've working with our orientation department around that, as well as our own program. But we will still be hosting an orientation. It will be virtual, but we are looking forward to meeting you at that orientation. And I know our program is already busy at work preparing what that will look like. So yes, certainly the use of Zoom or Microsoft Teams may be an option, and being able to break out into smaller groups to get to know each of you a little bit better at that time. At orientation, all of our programs take part in terms of giving you very specific information about their individual programs. So Carly's program would talk to you about the specifics, what to expect, as would ours in our own. So you'll have a little bit of orientation from Mohawk College, and then you'll have very program specific where you'll actually get to meet your first semester faculty. And as face-to-face as we can make that right now, which will mean virtually as we're doing, but we will certainly still host an orientation, and there will be more information coming about that very soon. Hopefully you'll start to see some information around orientation.
Thank you. Is there any other questions at all? I'm checking to see if anyone's hands up. I don't see any hands up.
That because it is so far away, and with changing times, I'm not sure what it might look like next year. But as of now, the classes will be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then there'll be the online components like we said earlier.
Deepa, is your question related to Learning Disability Specialist? Because you're asking, are there other courses online that are being offered this fall? So is that specific to Learning Disability Specialist? Oh, you're talking about, are you talking about another program, not Learning Disability Specialist? I think you might be asking, is there other 2-semester programs for 1 year? There are grad cert programs available in community studies, and there's actually later on today a virtual open house related to some of those programs. Was there one that you had in mind that you had a question related to? If not, feel free to visit the college website and look at what some of those grad cert programs are, and we can certainly connect you with the program coordinator to give you more specific information. Any other questions at all? I don't see any hands up. Any other questions in the chat? Perhaps we do have a little bit of extra time. Carly or Melody, anything that you wanted to add based on the information you've presented, just to provide any other information for the students? And if people have comments, if questions, feel free to put those in the chat. Participant.
I'll jump in there. I think that it's probably a lot of information to take in a small amount of time. We generally have lots of time. I'd encourage you to take a look at the PowerPoint once it's posted. Any questions, we're there and available to help you and to help you sort if this is the right program for you. I would like to say that although there are practicum components, as you heard with Carly as well, that don't let that dissuade you from your participation. Things will resume to a normal level at some point. And as I said in semester 1, we're really prepping you for that field anyway. So the difference for semester 1 is certainly going to be that online component versus face-to-face. But our team has worked really hard to make that so interactive and engaging, and being able still to meet each of you and find ways of building those relationships. So we'll still really endeavor to make this feel a cohesive team, so that when you do come together face-to-face, you'll have known each other for a little while. And then in the winter, hopefully we can start to resume some of those more normal activities of being together. But I would say that the early childhood education program is one that, although already has a high percentage of employment upon graduation, you could probably expect that number to go a little bit higher. One of the things that has happened with this pandemic has brought the importance of early childhood education to the forefront, and has shown that it's an absolutely critical piece to economy and to success in our society. So I think what you can expect to see are some changes that are really positive for our field. And I think you're entering at a time that's going to see a real shift in terms of that. So I welcome you to the program. I welcome any more information or questions that you might need answered, and hope to see you join us in the fall.
Thank you, Melody. And just to go off of that as well, feel free to email me in regards to the educational support program or the learning disabilities if you have any specifics. And yeah, with this pandemic, there's lots of different opportunities that are starting to open up. I know that some of our previous students from our educational support program are now working online as like an online tutor, online educational support worker with some of their previous students or with some new students, which it really does show the changes in our job force and our job market, and it does show the positives of this situation that we're in. So feel free to email me or email the other people within our program, Linda Jones and Amy Ocampo, if you have any other specific questions.
So I just want
Well, I think she might have cut out there. I just want to add and build a little bit on what Carly and Melody have just said, just in relation to what our fall is going to look like. I just really want to reassure you that you're going to be really supported. It's, not a typical delivery that we would normally see. And, it might be difficult in terms of making choices around, you have this goal around your education and you weren't really thinking it was going to be completely online for the fall. But I really want you to know that our professors are fantastic. They're doing a wonderful, wonderful job of looking at ways to engage in the virtual environment. And really, I'm so impressed with all the work that they've been doing. So I just want you to know that, we're really looking at innovative ways. There's lots of supports here for you. You're in great hands with your great professors and coordinators, and I really want you to know that you're going to be supported when you come, and we really have some innovative ideas around how to engage you. So I hope that reassures you a little bit, and in terms of making your choices. Was there any other questions at all?
I see one here in the chat came in. How often will Zoom be used for class? I can't speak for every faculty, of course, and I can't speak for Carly's program, but what I will tell you is what Kim Ann said is that we've become very, very flexible. We were already a very flexible team, but we've become very flexible in what our delivery looks like. So it's hard to determine course to course what Zoom will be used for, or Microsoft Teams. What I can tell you is that this ability to record those and allow it to be there for you afterwards is an option that allows us that flexibility where you don't have to feel pressured. If, let's say, you're a parent and your child's not back in school full time, because it's certainly not looking like that for the fall, and you have to think about, you know, doing grade 2 for part of your day and then doing your online course here for your virtual college education, there's an ability for us to flex things as this online delivery has unfolded. And so that's certainly an advantage. So although I can't say how often, I can tell you from my own experience that I use Zoom not weekly, because I find that people can get a little bit, let's just say that it becomes a little bit taxing for people. And also with your internet service, it's not always the best option for you. So I try and vary that with some taped lectures as well, but also make it so that if you can't attend the Zoom, that there's other options for you. So it really will vary program to program and course to course, but we let you know that at the beginning, the very first class you have, we'll give you an outline of what to expect for that whole semester.
Thank you, Melody. Any other questions at all? I know it's like Melody indicated earlier, probably as soon as the session's over, you're going to be saying, oh, I wish I had have asked this question. And we have given you several contact emails, but just know too, if you forget those, if you lose sight of those, you can always visit the website and look at the program, the specific program you're interested in. And there's contact information for the coordinator that's listed right there as well.
I do actually have a question for Melody, and also just asking about the best degree completion pathway options. So if someone is thinking about going into teaching after completing the EC diploma, or maybe even the the educational support program, what are the best pathway options?
Well, there's a few things they can consider, and Tracy might be good to jump in here as well, not to put you on the spot, Tracy, but if you're looking at early childhood education as part of your pathway, it's an excellent choice. Being able to have that baseline of 0 to 12, while you then think about heading off to teachers college, is not an uncommon choice for people in our program. They will sometimes take our 2-year diploma course program and then move off to another area where, for example, Brock University, where we might have a partnership and their early childhood education diploma is given a certain level of credit transfers. But you might also want to take a look at the human behavior psychology program at McMaster. We actually offer an ECE specialization with them. So if you take a 4-year degree program there at the human behavior psychology program at McMaster, in your 2nd year, you can specialize in early childhood education. And then you take it alongside of your McMaster studies. And that program is all delivered and at McMaster, and the ECE component is delivered by us, our ECE faculty. We come on campus there to McMaster and deliver that. So there's a few choices, but I'll throw things over to Tracy around pathways a little bit, if that's okay, Tracy.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Melody. We often get students inquiring about furthering their education, and we have a really good website with a lot of great information on pathways and credit transfers, and I've put it into the chat box there. And I've also put a link to teacher requirements, so the OCT, on what information, because there are different levels of teachers of which grades and such that you want to teach. So it does give you a bit of a pathway there. But when I meet with students regarding their different pathways, I usually have the student do some exploration on their own as well, instead of handing all the information, because I'll tell you, there's so much information out there and so many different requirements that each university or each institution will have different expectations or different credit transfers, what they will give you. So we do have, as Melody mentioned, some articulation agreements, and they are all listed on our website, and we have a database there. We also have a credit transfer advisor that can address some of the questions that you might have for furthering your career. And, but we really work, the advisors work really well together with these different areas because there's so much information out there. And I also direct students to on transfer. And all of that information, again, is on the website. And I'm not just directing, instead of answering questions, directing you to the website, but really there's a lot there. And I want students to start there, and then we can continue that conversation. Because like I said, each university is different. What they will give you, there are different articulation agreements. But I'll tell you right now, and I know the faculty and Kim Ann will agree with this, universities want college students. They want you to transfer. They will give you credits, but depending on what university, what program you're looking into, sometimes they are some oversubscribed, I guess you could say, so that there will be percentages listed on there. And you have to meet at least the minimum percentage of whether it's 75 or 80, 85, just depends on where you want to go. But again, so much out there. So you're starting off on the right foot, getting the college diploma, and then moving forward from there into university. So lots of info, guys.
Great, thank you, Tracy. Sorry, just one more question for Melody. If someone goes into the Child Development Practitioner program, would they be able to transfer over to the ECE diploma program if they decide they want to add on to their education?
So I might bring Kim Ann here as well in for the conversation around CDP. So my understanding around apprenticeship is that those courses would be equivalent in the ECE diploma program. So there is something that they could do in working with our coordinator to look at an equivalency if they were looking to switch from CDP into the two-year diploma program. As I said in the presentation piece, if you stay within the CDP program, the Child Development Practitioner, you fully complete that for your certificate. Then there's just a few courses, 3 courses that you take that then provide you that ECE diploma in the end. So there are a number of routes, obviously, but typically if people go into CDP, they tend to stay there and finish off their certificate because they want to have that availability during the day to work full time. So I'll let Kim Ann join in if there's anything that I've missed there or misinterpreted.
No, that is correct. And sorry, I'm having technical issues. I keep getting popped out. So if you lose me, that's why. There are 3 additional courses, as Melody indicated, and one of them is communications and the other 2 are general electives. So those are your choices in terms of what you select for those. And typically the learners, they'll take their courses that they need through continuing education. So those 3 courses can be taken that way.
That's great. Thank you so much. All right. Do we have any more questions before we wrap up here? Just looking through the chat here. Nope. All right. So before we end, would anyone like to add anything?
I'll just really quickly add something, and I didn't even say this at the beginning, but I'm the Associate Dean in Community Studies, and my name is Kim Ann Loesch. I should have done that at the beginning, but I did want to give you the really awesome that you took the time to do that today.
Is anyone else having difficulty hearing Kim Ann, or is it me? Yes? You broke up on
I just got booted out.
Okay.
technical issues today. Essentially, I was saying, best of luck with your choices. Awesome that you've come here today, and we hope to see you in the fall. So I hope you heard that okay.
Yes, got that now. And just there is another question that popped up since. A quick question about credit counselor's email. Was that the one for Tracy?
Need to direct you more specifically to the academic area, then they'll likely send you to the coordinator. Okay.
Great, thank you. If you need to speak to an advisor, you can connect with us by emailing discover@mohawkcollege.ca. Thank you again for joining us, everyone.